Hi there, I'm Irk, and this is my channel, Get Irked. Is Virgin Galactic the future of space tourism, or will the black hole of bankruptcy open up and swallow this dumpster fire forever? In this video, we're going to do an update of Virgin Galactic with the ticker symbol SPCE. Before we get any further, even though none of my videos are intended to be financial advice as to whether or not you buy or sell a stock, these are my own positions in what I've done to get here. It's important to remember Virgin Galactic should not be considered an investment. At best, it's a speculative stock, but at worst, it's basically a lottery ticket on the possibility of space tourism. Currently, the company generates no real revenues. The only money it brings in are deposits on the pre-orders of ticket sales in the future. They are not currently an operating business. Additionally, as you're going to see, this is one of the most volatile stocks that I've ever been involved with. So you need to know that going in. You should never risk more money than you're willing to lose. And in a stock like Virgin Galactic, it should be as much as you'd be willing to lose in the lottery. That being said, what we're going to do in this video is I'll give you a buying plan of what I would do with Virgin Galactic if I wanted to get started now, and then I'll go over my own position and where it's come from since my last video update. If you'd like to learn more about Virgin Galactic and its fundamentals, I'll leave a link to the original video in the credit sequence at the end of this video. My last video about Virgin Galactic was on June 25th of 2021. As you can see, Virgin Galactic was approaching an all-time high, although that didn't last very long. Throughout the remainder of 2021 and into 2022, Virgin Galactic continued to sell off. In fact, this stock is a great example of why I never trust a bottom. Virgin Galactic shot through its all-time low, making a new bottom even lower than where it was previously. As you can see, Virgin Galactic's previous all-time low was at $6.90, a low that it set shortly after it came public in the United States. And when it comes to never trusting a bottom, you can see in Virgin Galactic exactly why I say that. Virgin Galactic's original bottom was $6.90, but it sold off more than 40% from that bottom to its new low at $4.11. And there are no promises that the $4.11 will hold. In fact, the only thing that I can tell you as a guarantee is that it will stop going down at zero. That's right, it's not a joke. This company could go bankrupt, and that's just another warning of why you need to be really careful if you decide to risk any money at all in this unbelievably volatile investment. I've had commenters in the past ask me why I don't use anything beyond Fibonacci retracement and support and resistance levels when it comes to making buying plans. And the reason for this is that the videos I make are for long-term investors. These are for people who have a full-time job and can't watch the stock in its day-to-day movements. Additionally, an investor should never really concern himself or herself with the day-to-day movements. That's the realm of traders. It's always important to remember whether or not you're trading an asset or investing in an asset. There's nothing wrong with a trader investing, and there's nothing wrong with an investor trading, but you need to know when you approach an asset whether it's going to be an investment or a trade before you even begin to make a plan. In Virgin Galactic's case, I would draw a Fibonacci retracement from its low to its recent high to develop levels of support where Virgin Galactic might stop on its way back where we could add to the position. As you can see, Virgin Galactic continues to find support around $5.30, and given that it's closer to its bottom by a large margin than it is to its all-time high, I might actually start at $5.30 as my first buy. However, because the market has been so volatile, and Virgin Galactic is particularly volatile, I wouldn't start with my typical 50% allocation. Instead, I'd start with a 25% allocation and reserve the 75% remaining to buy at lower levels. After my initial buy at $5.30, I would look at the Fibonacci retracement, and you could see that the 50% level does show some signs of support, but it also regularly pulls back below it down to the 61.8% retracement. If we go back in the past, you can see that between these 2 points, there is quite a bit of support. So I'd probably make my next buy around $4.79 or $4.85. After that, we come down to the next level of retracement, which is here at $4.44. And you can see there is quite a bit of support at that level in the past. So I'd probably make $4.44 my next buy, with $4.11 being my final buy. At this point, we'd only have a 55% allocation in Virgin Galactic, but that's the way I want it. with this stock being so volatile and the potential of bankruptcy being very real, it's quite possible it will sell off dramatically from where it is now. So pulling out on the chart, you can see that we get additional buying levels using the Fibonacci retracement, with one here at $3.69 and another one at $3.15. At this point, we would have a 75% allocation in Virgin Galactic. However, we can still find additional levels below these where we could add to the position. And if we pull out on the chart, you can see that our next retracement level is down here at $1.59. However, because that's such a big gap between this $3.15 level and the next at $1.59, I would actually split the difference between the two to create a new buying level. And that would give us our next buying target here at $2.37. And after that, I would make a buy at $1.59. We would have a 95% allocation in Virgin Galactic at this point, and I'd still save that 5% cash on the sidelines to buy at lower levels if we saw Virgin Galactic really sell off. Typically, stocks that drop below $1 per share rarely ever recover from that point. So for me, I have a personal rule that I never buy below $1 per share. What you choose to do is completely up to you, but I'd probably make my last buy in Virgin Galactic at $1 per share and then wait to see where it went from there. From here, let's take a look at my own investment in Virgin Galactic and where it's come from since my last video update. My last update was on June 25th of 2021. With Virgin Galactic at $55.91 a share. My own position was negative $56.17 per share. A negative per share cost means that I've removed all the original capital out of my position, in addition to $56.17 in profit per share. In other words, each share adds more than $56 to my portfolio's bottom line. And you can see why I'm willing to take more of a risk in Virgin Galactic. I'm only playing with the house's money, and I will never put capital back into this position. It's just too speculative. However, I have no problem putting profits back into this position, as you can see, because I made buys on its way down from its all-time high. I've learned from Virgin Galactic's 2 runs into the 50s that it's important to be really patient with this stock and not add back into it too quickly. So I waited until it sold off dramatically from its all-time high before even making my first addition to the stock. I made my first replacement buy on October 18th of 2021 at $19.04 a share. And then I made a second buy on December 1st at $14.90. And the combination of these 2 buys raised my per share cost up $36.57 to negative $19.60 a share. And from here, it was time to let Virgin Galactic run a little bit. As you can see, just like the rest of the market, and particularly the speculative sectors, Virgin Galactic got hit really hard in 2022. A combination of the Russia war in Ukraine and inflation affecting all stocks, but the speculative ones specifically. I made 3 more buys after my last one on December 1st, with my first one in 2022 being on the 19th of January at $9.50. My next was on February 24th at $7.50, and my last buy was on May 6th at $6.70, and you'll notice that was below its all-time low of $6.90. The combination of these 3 buys raised my per share cost up an additional $13.95, leaving me with a per share cost of negative $5.65. And as we learned earlier in the video, Virgin Galactic was not going to bottom at its all-time low, and would sell off an additional 40% plus from $6.90 until it did finally bottom at $4.11. And you can see that I've made my last buy up until this point on September 20th at $5.14. That buy raised my per share cost up another $1.19, leaving me where I am now, with a per share cost of negative $4.46 a share. This represents an increase of $51.71 per share since my last update. But it's important to remember that since I've added so many more shares to the position, that's still a substantial amount of profit that I've removed from this investment. From here, my next buy target is at $4.06, slightly below its low of $4.11. And my next sell target is quite a bit higher than here, at $19.54, a previous point of resistance. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.